Trans people have been the focus of the right for a number of years. If you're a right-wing commentator, you can't go 5 minutes without thinking about a trans person, how mad you are that they exist. But let that not delude you into thinking that trans people are the only members of the LGBTQ plus community that are gonna be targeted by conservatives, because they're not. And some of the old moves of the right are being rebooted for the new MAGA era. And so we have Missouri AG Andrew Bailey here, who is now pushing to bring back conversion therapy in his state after it had been banned. So if you're not familiar with this, it's the horrendous practice of trying to either psychologically or with pharmaceuticals or with basically literal torture, try to force people to pretend to be straight for a little bit or whatever. So that's the idea, and thankfully, because that's horrendous, that's been banned in general. Well, he doesn't want that. He wants to take us back. And so he's filed a lawsuit on behalf of Christian counselors seeking to overturn these bans in Kansas City and Jackson County. The bans, passed back in 2019 and 2023 respectively, forbid practitioners from trying to change the sexual orientation or gender identity of minors. But Bailey's lawsuit argues that the bans violate the counselors' First Amendment rights. See, the counselors have a right to torture you into pretending to be straight. You don't have any rights whatsoever to your preferences, your orientation, your identity. That's radical for you to think you have rights, but Christians definitely do. And so this is from the lawsuit. They say sometimes the minors ask for help identifying with their sex or redirecting their sexual desires towards the opposite sex. And I can't rule out that that has never happened before. I think in practice what he means is the parents try to make that happen. That's what that's about. The bans require the counselors to provide counseling services to adults and children who wish to affirm views about sex and gender that conflict with the counselor's religious beliefs. And again, the counselor's religious beliefs are, at the end of the day, the only thing here that actually matters. Government bureaucrats should not insert themselves into private counseling conversations, much less censor and redirect the exploration of truth on some of the most contentious issues of our day, gender identity and sexual orientation. Okay, so it would be censorship to stop them from torturing a young kid into pretending to be straight for a while. But you cannot use most of the words he just used in government documents. You'll be fired if you use those words. Some of these words you literally can't post on Twitter because of the censorship on that platform. And so when we say that this is a Christian nationalist or supremacist state, that's what this looks like. Your rights are irrelevant when the rights of Christians are being considered. Your rights in terms of orientation or sexual preference or whatever, they don't count for literally anything. You might be persecuted just for identifying wrong, but they have endless rights to change your mind, even through psychological and physical torture. Francesca, what do you think?
I mean, it's just, it goes hand in hand with, I think, what a lot of purported Christians and churches have been doing now, and we know more and more for decades, right? Which is actually allowing abuse. I mean, they love abuse. They love abuse. I mean, they love targeting, obviously, gay and lesbian, transgender people. But they're also fine with targeting children, whether it's in the Catholic Church, whether it's in all the mega churches that have pastors who have been outed as being pedophiles. Like, again, every accusation is a confession. They love this kind of stuff. Basically, what Christian nationalism wants to do also is to take us back to the time of every Netflix documentary. Like every Netflix documentary that's like, wow, this young girl was kept by her neighbor in a shed for 30 years. JD Vance and other Christian nationalists, this attorney general's like, yeah, hell yeah, that's really good. Let's go back to that. Hey, let's go back to the conversion shock therapy. Let's go back to when we sent kids who misbehaved into horribly abusive institutions where they weren't allowed to contact their family members and scarred them and traumatized them for life and led them to suicide. Love that stuff. Like, this is really the social Darwinism of Christian nationalism, right? You are a good identity, a wrong identity, and if you're the wrong identity, we will abuse you into becoming the right one.
Yeah, and I'll close by just saying, like, look at the utter hypocrisy when they use the term free speech, depending on who you are. So if you want to sit a kid down, like lock them up basically, and just propagandize to them to try to turn them into a straight person, that is your right, your First Amendment right. If you're a female second grade teacher and you make an offhand comment that you have a wife, fired. gone because you're trying to change the sexuality of the kid. In fact, you're probably a pedophile. You're a sexual predator, and we need to get you out of that position. So yeah, theoretically, you might have freedom of speech, assuming you believe and say the right thing under this regime.